Okay, cool. There we go. So yes, I am Caleb, the Spy Dog, one of the programmers on Rogue Legacy 2, and today I'm going to be playing through the game and answering your questions about the game development process, game development in general, any random Rogue Legacy related questions you might have, and hopefully we'll have a good time. Cool beans. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start a new legacy. How much have I actually played? I've played a lot, but not as much as you might expect of like the normal game. So when I play, I typically play for like a specific purpose, right? So like I'm going in and I'm testing if the castle is generated correctly, or if this character's move works correctly. So like actually playing through the game kind of in the standard way, I haven't actually done that too much since like the game originally came out. So we'll see how this goes. I might be a little rusty at it. Live for the first time in 6 years? Yeah. I think it was a game jam the last time I streamed anything on Twitch. I can't remember the occasion though. Okay, cool. Alright. So, trying to think of interesting things to say about this. So this is the tutorial, of course. It's changed quite a bit, actually, over the past few updates. Like, the general structure is the same, but we keep thinking of new things we want to teach the player through it. So, like, this part's pretty much the same, I think. I'm not sure if this journal here, this hidden journal, has been here since the start of the game, because I know the journals have been moved around a bit. Use your class talent. Tree banners. Yeah. So this is not directly related to anything anybody's asked me, but if anyone's curious about like the lore of the game, that is something I'm probably not going to be able to answer too much about because I'm not super familiar with it myself. That's mostly our designer's side of things. He's also the writer. So unfortunately I can't answer your burning questions and theories about the overarching story of the game. And even if I could, I still probably wouldn't, because I want you to experience that for yourself. Yeah, the ground dash without an heirloom. That was an interesting choice on the part of our designer. And I personally like it, because it's especially interesting, I think, for speed runs, because you can just kind of zoom around even from the very start, which is nice. Although I've seen some people get kind of tripped up because they expect to be able to air dash, and they can't until they unlock that heirloom. But yeah, who's head of the lore? That would be our designer. In the Discord, his username's Reet. It's Teddy Lee, one of the co-founders of the studio. Alright, so we're in the castle now. Gonna try killing a few minor enemies, getting the swing of things, break some brambles. So another thing that's might be kind of interesting is typically when I'm testing the game, I do it almost exclusively with a cheat mode activated. So this isn't something that you can actually do in the retail version of the game unless you get extremely clever with like reverse engineering the binary, which I don't recommend you do, but you can if you want to. And this cheat mode essentially allows me to like run at super speed, which is really helpful for like traversing the castle really fast to make sure that everything's in place. But it's also kind of a pain for like anything accuracy. So if like I need to be precise about something, it's kind of hard to do that when I'm running at like 1 billion miles an hour. Alright, let's see. We got a fairy chest. I am really bad at fairy chests. There are a few that I know I can do. This one I'm not sure, but yeah, what the heck, I'll give it a shot. Oh boy. Gosh darn it. Okay, well, whatever. Oh no. Okay. Doodly doodly doo. What's been my favorite feature of the game to work on? So one thing that I'm particularly proud of, that I've worked on personally, is the magic platforms in the study biome. You know, the ones that like you jump on them and then they materialize, but only like in a little portion of the outline. That was something Teddy asked me to implement one day, and I found kind of a weird like solution for that, because it's actually surprisingly difficult to get that to work with the way that our collision system's rigged up. So what actually happens, and this might explain some strange behavior that you've observed with it, how those actually work is they are... Oh, that's fun. You see that? Oh well, whatever. So how they actually work is they are one-way platforms. So just like this platform here, how you can jump underneath it from the bottom, they are one-way platforms that turn into solid platforms that you can't down jump through. So whenever you touch them, it essentially shrinks the hitbox of the platform to like the area near where you're standing on. And then as soon as you jump, it rematerializes or dematerializes back into just a standard one-way. It's a little strange, but that also explains, like, if you've ever seen like an enemy or some coins drop on top of one of those like outlined magic platforms that hasn't been solidified yet, they'll still land there because it's technically being treated as a one-way platform, which is a little weird, and I'd like to fix that. But aside from that, I really like that feature. I just think it's a fun little mechanic. Okay, I don't think I can do this one yet. You can jump on them really fast, and it won't... Yeah. Let's see. I'd like to hear all about what you do to develop the game, stuff like that. Yeah, so that's a very broad question. So, like I said, I'm one of the programmers on this game, so I don't typically come up with new game mechanics. Essentially, what I do is I take the ideas that Teddy has and make them happen, essentially. Me and the other programmer. And I also work on like some of the behind the scenes things. So like you may have noticed, I guess I should probably keep playing. You may have noticed in this latest update that the file size for the game dropped like drastically. Even though there's more content, it got like half as big as it was in the Far Shores update. And that was because of some work that I did on asset compression. So it's kind of like behind the scenes technical stuff, and occasionally like implementing features like the magic platforms, or I also worked a little bit on some of the mimic chests and a bunch of other stuff that I'm sure I'm forgetting at the moment. Yeah, it's ridiculous how much of a difference compression can make. And actually, these past couple weeks, we've been working on doing even more of that. And so now the biggest file in, like, you know, if you actually look at the program files for the game, the biggest file was this textures bundle. So that's what contains like all the textures for the game. Pretty much anything graphics that's not a model. And we've been able to shrink that from like nearly 300 megabytes to like 90 using more asset compression, which is really, really cool because it reduces loading times and also makes for a smaller download size, and actually makes it more efficient on the GPU, so it's just like kind of a triple win here. Oh, another thing I implemented that's kind of fun is this new map scrolling system. So you see how it kind of like follows you and zooms out a little bit. It used to be that it would stay in place, like the camera would stay in place and then just kind of like gradually zoom out like that. So you could see the entire castle, which is neat. But then as soon as you got to Axis Mundi, the big bridge biome, it would zoom all the way out and you couldn't see anything, which was not ideal. So we had to rig in that system of like kind of dynamically zooming and panning, which I think worked out pretty well. Mentioned speed running earlier. Do you consider speedrunners when developing the game? Yes. So I personally do. So for changes that I think will impact speedrunners, I'm particularly sensitive to those because I do watch some of the speedruns in the community. Like Tadpole stuff I really enjoy. And I think it's really interesting, like in the Discord speedrunning channel, to see everybody kind of talking about their achievements, and also just like kind of the encouraging atmosphere of like encouraging new people to start speedrunning the game. I think that's really cool. And building a speedrun community around a game, I think, is really important for the game's longevity. But that's my opinion. Let's see here. What character should I choose? You have some cosmic insight, hypergonadism. Ooh, and you have prismatic spectrum. Okay, yeah, I'll go with you, Lady Meg. Favorite combination of character and skill. So I guess like class and trait. Huh. Well, I'm going to be unlocking some more classes here, so I might change my answer as I play. But I do really like the Ranger. I know that class is a little controversial, just because it's very slow paced. You don't have like an active weapon you can fling around and attack a bunch of enemies at once, right? It's more deliberate and methodical. You have to stand somewhere, aim, and hope that your arrow reaches your target, right? But I actually kind of like that. I think it's different, and it feels, I don't know, it changes the game in a way that I personally kind of like. Blacksmith. Enchantress. The pillow fort is open. Oh boy, do I go for the totem or Lady Quinn? The totem, because then I can get mastery. So I'll also do this. Oh wow, okay, I got... Oh, choices. I really like Barbarian. Their aerial attack is just so fun. Okay, now I gotta choose. Oh boy. I'll stick with the Archer for this round. Or the Ranger. Okay. Restore 50 mana whenever you take damage. Okay, cool. Who made the Shadow Gate to block Enoch's memory? Like the, shoot, what? I'm actually not totally sure what Shadow Gate you're talking about, because we have, like, void doors, right? The kind of purpley things that you have to void dash through. And in terms of, like, the study and actually playing through it, like, and getting the memory insight and that sort of thing, I haven't gotten there on a standard playthrough, so I'm actually not super familiar with that part of the game. Which sounds weird. Like, you'd kind of assume that anyone who's working on the game would have like an extremely intimate knowledge of like every piece of it, but that's really not the case here. It's a big enough project, and we have enough dedicated team members. Like, I am a programmer, right? And Teddy's a designer, and we have a couple artists, right? And so everybody has kind of their own specific domain knowledge over their part of the game. So that's one part I unfortunately don't really know. Once we get there, I might be able to see what you're talking about and share some insight. Speaking of the study, let's go there. Cool. One fun fact. Oh, these are the magic platforms I was talking about earlier. You see how they kind of materialize, and you can fall through them, and you can jump up, but you can't down jump through them. Yeah. I'm probably going to get my butt handed to me here in the study because I don't have the... Oh, shoot. Yeah, I guess I can get up here with an ivy platform. Yeah, that coin just landed there. If you saw that, that's a quirk of them being one-way platforms. Oh, shoot. Okay, wow, that did a lot of damage. Okay. Woo! Oh, gosh. Oh, no. Here we go. Scranger. Okay, well, that was a fun run. We accomplished a lot there. Alright. If they have a barbarian, I'm going to choose that one. There we go. And they're an endomorph. Cool, with freeze strike. Oh gosh, and they have 1 HP. Alright, this is going to be an interesting run. Another thing that I've worked on are some of like the relics and traits. Yeah. So like actually implementing those. So like I'm trying to remember one of the relics I added, because I added a bunch for this last patch, but they all kind of blur together because I did them like kind of all in rapid succession. Behold, I am the living totem, and you are now bound to me. Okay. Yeah, so I have no mastery over any class right now. Let's see if we can change that with the barbarian. Although I don't think I'm long for this world. Okay, another fun fact. So, every weapon in the game, anything that can deal damage, whether it's sent by the player or an enemy, any attack is a projectile. The way that the game is coded, everything that can deal damage is a projectile. So this axe, even though you hold it and you slam it, it's still considered a projectile within the game. So what it actually does is it spawns a little projectile object that's invisible, that kind of, essentially its collision maps to the swing of the axe. It's a little bit of an unusual system, but it's kind of interesting. So let's see here. I'm going to get as much gold as I possibly can, because I have 1 HP, probably not going to live too long. Oh gosh, okay. There we go. Man, I would have been super bummed if I just died right there. Okay. There we go. Okay. Alright. Let's see here. I'm going to see if I can kind of cheese this a little. There we go. Okay, cool. Well, at least I got some XP out of that. Flame lock. Oh gosh, what am I doing? This is a risky way to... Oh, gosh darn it. Okay, well. Alright, on to the next. I remember in Discord you talked about getting started with game dev. What was the biggest inspiration for you? Oh, that's a fun one. I kind of have two. So, actually, let me pick my character real quick. Do I want to be disattuned? Disattuned. I have very mixed feelings about this trait overall because, like, I think it's cool, but it has also been, like, the single biggest source of trait-related bugs in the game. Like, a lot of the infinite loading screens from, like, earlier versions were because of the disattune trait. And then we fixed it, and then they came back. And then we had to fix it again. And then sometimes it didn't show up right. And so it's been a non-stop just thrill ride of miscellaneous bugs with this. But whatever, you know, I think they're mostly fixed, so I'm going to play as that character. Yeah, the silhouette glitch. Ugh. Yeah, that one sucked. Although... that isn't my least, like, that isn't my most hated bug in the game. I'll talk about my my pet peeve bug here in a little bit. Should I unlock the mage? Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Beards are mandatory. Yeah. Okay, here come the labor costs. Alright. Someone suggested a while back that, like, in the death screen for this trait, that the heart, since it's still kind of visible, that it should, like, break apart kind of Undertale style. I think that'd be really fun. I don't know if it'd be, like, worth the trouble to actually implement it, because I think it would be kind of tricky, but that would be fun. Alright, there you go, Charon. Anyway, back to the game dev inspiration. So, I have two stories from my childhood, and I think they both contributed... Oh, really? Okay, cool, Sarah Bell. Yeah, so the first game that really inspired me to not even just make games, but just, like, kind of try to understand the inner workings of a computer. It was this game called Carnivores. It was a dinosaur hunting game from the late 90s. And then they re-released it probably 10 years ago on iOS, and then have since abandoned it, which is unfortunate, because I really liked the game. But I started playing it when I was, I don't know, like 4 or something. I was probably too young to actually, like, to play it and truly appreciate it, because I was still terrified of the dinosaurs. Yeah, I do have 2 wind walls. Well, that's interesting. I'll make a note of that. I think I might know why that might be happening, but that probably shouldn't happen. Huh. Well, okay. I wonder if it's because I switched to the mage class. Yeah, I'm not surprised that a bug cropped up during this. Like, I've kind of come to expect that. That's the perk of being in early access, though, is we can diagnose these bugs and fix them before, like, we officially stamp our 100% like 1.0 approval on it. And for a game like Rogue Legacy, it is just so difficult to, like, have any sort of, like, real testing system in place, because every single run of the game is different. And it's not just different in terms of, like, yeah, that's probably it. But it's not just different in terms of, like, the castle layout. It's also a combination of the castle layout and the particular traits you have and the relics you encounter and your equipment and your runes. And so there's just, like, this exploding, number of, like, possible cases that we have to test for. Yeah, I mean, to some extent that is kind of true. Like, we want to make sure that our releases are as bug-free as possible. But at some point, like with this last patch, we had so many bugs, and then our bug fixes caused more bugs. And that's why we had, like, what was it, 0.30A, and then B, and then 0.31, and then 31A, and then 32, and then 312A and B. Because we just kept finding bugs. And eventually, like, there are still a few known bugs in the game, like, apparently this one, which I don't know if anyone had seen before. But, like, at some point we just had to say, okay, we got to stop fixing bugs right now and, like, focus on new content, right? Because otherwise we're going to delay this next content update forever, and we obviously don't want to do that. So we've transitioned to mostly working on new stuff internally. But some of the bugs are actually fixed, like that one bug where... Oh, hello, heirloom. That one bug where if you destroy a bookshelf, but you don't destroy the book on it, then the book will spawn in if you change biomes. We fixed that one internally, but that'll come out with the next content update. Who here has stumbled into my abode? Sweet child. Pudgy. There we go. Which biome is next? That is a good question. Let's see here. So, you may have noticed... I don't want to, like, spoil anything, right? But I will say there are essentially two options at this point, right? There are two unfinished biomes. And one of them is a little more finished than the other, and that's the one that we're going to be releasing in this content update. And I will leave it to you to figure out what I'm talking about. Fans of the original early access trailer of the game might have a clue onto that. Oh shoot! Oh no! Ah! Oh hey, mage can just like straight up shoot through these walls. That's great. Okay. Oh man, I'm really hard to. It's really hard to see my character when they're all black. Okay. Anyway, back to the carnivores. Back to the carnivore story. So it was this dinosaur hunting game, and one day I got bored and I was browsing through the program files for it, and I found a plain text file, just like a .txt, that contained all of the dinosaurs' names. So like T-Rex, Stegosaurus, Velociraptor, whatever. And so I went into that file and I was just like, I wonder what would happen if I changed it. And so I changed like the T-Rex to be named Bob, right? And I played the game, and then everywhere it used to say T-Rex, it now said Bob. I'm like, oh, that's very interesting. Because like before that, like, and this was when I was, I don't know, 6, 7, something like that. Like, I didn't have any grasp on how computers worked. But the fact that I could just change a little bit of data, just a little bit of text, and change the game that I really liked, that was a really insightful moment for me. It was really interesting. And that's why I was so... Yeah, that's actually a good point. That's why I was so excited about having, like, a plain text file where you could add your own character names. Like, I think the original Rogue Legacy had that too. But we didn't have it in Rogue Legacy 2 until... oh, hi, Mindful Line. We didn't have it until... I think it was the Far Shores update. And I was one of the ones who really pushed for that, because I love it when people can, like, change their game, right? Not even just, like, mod it, but just, like, personalize it. Like, put in your family and friends. Speaking of which, Sir Truman here. Truman is my grandpa's name, so we added that as kind of a tribute to him. Yeah, the entire Shrek script or B-movie script as a name, that's a little excessive. But I mean, hey, if you want to do it, you're welcome to. It's your game. And this is one of those, because it's a single-player offline game, you can pretty much do whatever you want to it, right? Like, you can mod it in any way that you like, as long as you know, if you can figure out how to do it. Because it's not going to affect anybody else, right? Like in an online multiplayer game, you don't want anybody to cheat. But for something like this, right, like, as long as it doesn't ruin the experience for you, like, I think it's really fun to just kind of mess with it and push its limits and see what you can do. Okay, which of these do I want? Body Buffet, Lightning Storm. I'll be Sir Truman. There we go. Are the devs' names in here? Yes. It is mostly, like, most of the randomly generated character names are either the devs' names, close family, friends of the devs, or, like, either nonsensical things, or characters from Full Metal Furies. Like Alex and Triss and whatnot. Cool. Maybe one of these days I'll actually talk to one of these guys. Yeah, whenever I play this, I have a tendency to like, spend all of my money on the skill tree and not think about the blacksmith or enchantress. So that's something I need to get better at. Oh, another thing that I do on the game is, especially recently, I'm the one who's responsible for hooking up sound effects. So we have an audio team, and they give us sound effects and music, and then it's my job to actually go into the game and hook it up to play and stop playing when it's supposed to. So you have me to blame for some of those, like, infinitely looping sound effects bugs. Like, I think there was one with Nama, where, like, one of her attacks would, like, loop forever, even if you left the main menu. And, Yeah. So I fixed that in one of the past few patches, but apologies for that. It was kind of funny, actually. Like, before people started reporting that bug, I could hear it in, like, I think it was one of Tadpole's streams. I could hear this weird, like, sound in the background. I'm like, man, his computer's making a funny noise. I'm like, oh, that's a bug. Oh, really? It's still infinite during her fight? Ah, shoot. Okay, well. At least it doesn't live past her fight now. I think. Fingers crossed. Hopefully. Hello. Welcome to the land of the awake people. Do you get to use any fancy automated tools? Not as many as I'd like. Nothing intelligible. Okay, cool. Yeah, most of the stuff in this game is done manually. I'd like to add like some more scripting stuff and some sort of like automated testing for parts of the game. But like I was saying earlier, it's really hard to do that. Just because of the crazy number of possible combinations of game elements that you can get in Rogue Legacy. What games do I usually play other than Rogue Legacy 2? Big Nintendo fan. Play a ton of Nintendo games. I've been playing Super Mario 3D World on Switch and Bowser's Fury. I really liked Bowser's Fury. It's not very long, but it's really good for what it is. Oh, right, I can't even talk to you because I don't have that heirloom. Ah, shoot. Okay. Do. I'll come back here later. Oh, cool, yeah. Yeah, I played through it with my wife, and it's really fun. Like, it's... Like, especially compared to the new Super Mario Brothers games, like, 3D World is... Like, it's really good as a co-op experience. Like, I feel like New Super Mario Brothers, it gets kind of hectic sometimes, with everybody sharing, you know, a screen. And one single, you know, 2D plane. It's really easy to pick each other up, but not a problem, or not as much of a problem in 3D World. Cool, I'm glad you like it. With bug reports, do you often know the problem people report, or are you surprised by all the bugs people run into? We are typically flabbergasted by some of the reports. Like, some of them are like, oh, shoot, yeah, we should have seen that coming. Like, duh, right? Others were like, how in the world did you manage to do that? So we have, like, an automated crash system. Oh, to answer your question, Misshapen Smiley, we do actually have, like, some automated, like, crash reporting and diagnostics tools. So, like, if something bad happens in the game, we do get it, like, registered in a database. And typically, like, people will report it on the Discord, which is actually way more helpful than on the database. The database is, like... It's a service that Unity provides, and it's convenient, but it's not super good, if that makes sense. Like, it's really easy to set up, but the actual interface for browsing the issues is not great. But we do get more metadata. The out-of-bounds glitch. Oh gosh, that one sucked. Yeah. The physics engine in this game, I haven't worked with it as much as our other programmer, but it is, from all accounts, just a... It is... How do I put this nicely? It's not our fault. We're using, like, a third-party physics engine, because Unity's physics system is kind of weird and not really optimized for 2D platformers. So we're using someone else's off the asset store. But then we've significantly modded it to, like, do what we need for Rogue Legacy. And as a result, it's kind of chaotic, and it can be really hard to figure out, like, what exactly is causing the issue. He who gives you two choices hides a third. But yeah, like, there are some bugs that we've gotten in our database that nobody's reported on the Discord. and they're just super strange. Like, let me think. What was a good one? It's like if you happen to have like this particular trait and you visit this particular room and you get like one specific kind of enemy, then the enemy's like invisible or something like that. It's really specific sometimes, which makes it really difficult to track down and reproduce and actually fix. And occasionally we'll get, ooh, yay, meat. We'll occasionally get like crash reports without any context. Like, synesthesia, the trait that gives you like a color trail. That crashes the game for some people, but we don't know when, why, or how. And we've tried to add like some more debug logging to like try to figure that out, but we still haven't managed to solve that to this day. And nobody's reported it, so we don't have like, other than that automated crash system, we don't have any way of knowing what caused it. Yeah. Using a percent, how much of the game do you think is already made? Well, let's see. It's really difficult to estimate with game development because of this thing. I might be misremembering this, but it's essentially like the I can't remember if there's a name for it or not, but like the last 10% of finishing a game takes about as much time as the first 90%. Like, it's really hard to gauge, like, especially since we don't even necessarily know, like, what all of the remaining features are. Because, oh, hello there. Did you see that? That guy just slid up the slope. Okay, well, another one for the bug tracker. Yeah, it's kind of hard to estimate because, like, we'll come up with new features, like, a couple weeks before release. Like the curio shops from the last update, you know, where you can swap out your weapon or ability or whatever, like, during a run. That was added, like, 2 or 3 weeks before release. Which, in my opinion, is cutting it really close. Like, I wish we'd had more time to test that. But, I mean, it worked out, so I guess all's well that ends well. Tables falling from the sky. Yeah, that's another one of those bugs that's, like, nearly impossible to catch, like, through automated testing. Or even, like, manual testing, because, like... So the way that rooms are set up, and this probably isn't going to come as a surprise to anybody. Oh, hello. Alright, well, it came out of nowhere. So, let's take a look at the map, shall we? So this room here that I'm in right now, it is pretty long and it has 4 doors, right? There's one on the left, there's one at the top, there's one on the right, and there's one on the bottom. And those doors aren't necessarily always there. So each room has like some metadata to have like essentially a percentage chance of each door being open. If it's not open, then it'll just be a solid wall. And so that's how rooms can be reused and connected to other rooms. So that's, whenever you get like this particular room, there's not necessarily always going to be a path down here, right? You might only have a path up. And as a result of that, if you happen to have like, I don't know, what are those things called? Candelabra, right? Or a couch or something, hanging out in one of these areas, and then either a door spawns here either a door spawns here or it doesn't spawn here. Whether it does or doesn't can affect the collision of the area, right? Because now we have a one-way platform or we have a solid wall. And because props handle their ground collision differently in those cases, like you end up with stuff falling from the ceiling, falling from the floor, but it's only if you get a particular type or a particular variant of that room in your run. So that's pretty hard to track down, but we try to get them when we can. for the very helpful folks that post the screenshots and the seeds on the Discord. That's typically how we can track them down. Now room shifting is actual lore? Yeah. I like it when games explain their, like, kind of some of their stranger mechanics, like the parts that don't really make logical sense. If they can find a way to, like, actually make them part of the lore, that's pretty cool. Okay, gonna go up, I think. Actually, where should I go? I guess I'll go down and to the right. Doodly-doo. There we go. Another thing that we're working on for this upcoming content patch, in addition to, like, texture compression stuff, and obviously, like, the new features, right? You're going to get a new biome. We're going to get 2 new classes. Just kind of like, you know, pretty much what you would expect from our past few updates. Some new other gameplay features, new spells, probably, you know, that sort of thing. But one other thing that we're working on that I'm particularly involved in at the moment. Ooh, an arena. Should I do it? Yeah, I'm going to do it. Okay, I might regret this decision, but here we go. Oh boy, it's you. Hello. I'm trying to remember if this is one of the... I don't think this is one of the bosses I programmed. I programmed the void spiky balls that bounce around. I can't remember their names. They're the other Blightborn. Program the AI for those. Oh gosh, this was a mistake. Oh gosh, oh no. Will there be a recording? Yeah. Yep. Oh hey, rank up. Almost made it to rank 2. Get it to an edge and it will get stuck. Okay, that's a cool strategy that also kind of sounds like a bug. Did you ever expect the game in its current state to be finished in 30 minutes? I am personally not shocked. Like, I am, well, I say that. Like, I am consistently impressed with, like, speedrunners, right? Like, you know, your and Tadpole's stuff, like, you guys are able to blaze through it just, like, super fast. Which I kind of expected. Like, speedrunners tend to figure out how to you know, minimize games beyond, like, what you would typically think. So I'm not, like... I'm not shocked, but I am very impressed. And I'm curious to see how the runs are going to change once the new biomes are in. And especially... once some of the new... I'm trying to figure out what I can and can't say. There's going to be some more stuff coming in this update. Like, so, I think Reet mentioned it in the Discord, some of the long tail stuff that will be coming in this update that I think might make for different run categories. And that's going to be very interesting. I'm looking forward to that. Okay, who should I be? Magic 8 Ball... Have you seen RL1 in 9 minutes? Oh my gosh, 9 minutes? Holy cow. I have not. I'm going to look it up later, though. If I've not played either Rogue Legacy 1 or 2, would it be better to just jump into 2? Yeah. I personally think Rogue Legacy 2 is a better game, even though it's not finished. It fixes a lot of the issues that Rogue Legacy 1 had, although I still really like Rogue Legacy 1. So over the holiday break, I played through the entire thing on my Switch, which, for context, I joined Cellar Door Games last August, so I wasn't with them when they made the original game. I did port it to iOS, but that was a separate thing. But yeah, Rogue Legacy 1's still really fun, but just Rogue Legacy 2, I think, is funner. What else have I missed? Will we get the spoon thrower and circle blade guy back? I don't know. We're probably not going to get the spoon thrower. I don't think. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that was swapped out for the frying pan, and I think that was the best decision for the cook. The circle thrower guy, maybe. I'm not certain. I know one of the classes for this next update. I don't think we've decided on the other one, but it's not the circle thrower guy, the chakram person. Although, who knows? Like, there might be more... Yeah. Again, I'm trying to figure out what I should and shouldn't say to not spoil surprises for anybody. But, yeah, expect a variety of weapons to still show up. What else we got? As a baby game designer, I'm living for this stream. Cool. I'm glad it's interesting. Let's see. Have I played the mod for one? No, I haven't. I assume you're talking about Legend of Zors. Yeah, I've heard a lot about it, but or Lament of Zors. Sorry, an arena instead of a challenge hole. Yeah, internally they're called arenas. I guess in the game they're called like Stygian Tears or something. Oh gosh, we got two colorblind people. I'm going to be the mage because variety. We actually had an interesting, not really bug, but just kind of side effect that wasn't intended a while back with arenas. Because it turned out, like, I noticed, like, this was before the patch came out, but, like, in a castle, like, we would get a ton of arena rooms. Like, we'd almost get no relic rooms or healing rooms, you know, with the trees. Like, we wouldn't get, like, any of those. No curio shops. It was just, like, all arenas. And we're like, what in the world is going on here? Alright, Valkyrie. Alright, I'm cool with that. And as it turns out... Gosh darn it, I went and spent all my money again. Yeah, oh well. As it turns out, arena rooms were the only room type that had a bottom door. Because before this patch, or before the Arcane Hallows update, relic rooms and healing rooms could only be entered from the left and right. But arenas could be entered from the bottom, left, right, and the top. And as a result, when the castle was building, basically for each room, right, so if we look here, so it builds this first room, right, that's always there. That's where you start. That is the, you know, it's mandatory. It's got to be there. And that's placed first. And then it builds the next room. And so it's like, okay, we got to pick a room that connects, that has a door on the left. Right? And so it looks through all the lists of possible rooms, and it's like, randomly choose that one. And so it connects it here. And then it's like, okay, this room has the possibility to open to the top, right? We can have a door up at the top. And so let's do that, right? Because we got to keep the castle going. There are no other exits here. So what's a room that connects via the bottom, right? We need a room with a door at the bottom to connect to this room. And as it turned out, arena rooms were the only special room types that had a door at the bottom. And so that's why they were always getting built. And the others were very rare. So we changed it so that all the special room types now open on the bottom as well, which fixed the problem. So now you get a pretty nice distribution. Do I know any cheat codes? There's one, but it's not very exciting. So, like I mentioned earlier, we do have a bunch of cheats internally for testing stuff, but you can't really access them in the retail build. But there is one minor thing. If you hold Shift and press the tilde key, you get a little FPS counter. I think it also disables VSync. So, ta-da! Now the actual like reliability of that FPS counter, I'm not sure if it can be trusted, but it's there mostly just like for performance testing, just to get a rough estimation of like if we're running well or not. But if you're on a really if the game is not running well at all, if it like goes below 30 FPS, actually maybe it's less than that, like 20 FPS, then it just stays there. Even if it's running at 1 frame a second, it'll still tell you you're running at 20 FPS. So it's not like the most reliable thing, but it's still a pretty good estimate for like how intense any particular room is. The ceremony of the gates draws near. I don't know what the estuaries are supposed to sound like. I guess that might be an intentional thing, though, because, I mean, like, I don't know. Lets you be creative, right? They sound like whatever you want to sound like. I have, shoot, what do I have? It's an AMD something or other. I can't remember at the moment. It's not like one of their newest ones. Yeah. So, I actually can't remember if I finished my thought earlier or not, but yeah, so one of the other things that we're working on for this next content update is more optimizations. So our technical artist, he has been doing a ton of work on essentially like changing up the entire way that the game is rendered to make it more efficient. Particularly on really low-end systems. So we have this one particular device we're testing on. It's kind of like a, if it will run on this thing, that it'll run on anything, you know, sort of test case. And so we've been making really good strides with that. It used to run at like 16 frames per second on this device, and now we're up to like 40. So fingers crossed that trajectory will continue and we can really improve the performance for people on lower end machines. So you won't have to, ideally it'll be a mixture of the game will run faster and you won't have to sacrifice as much quality by going on like the lowest setting. That's the idea. We'll see how it works out. Oh gosh, what have I gotten into? Oh boy, oh no, what are you? Okay, there we go. Hey, I got some iron ore ingot. I don't know what they're called in the game. The thing that, so a lot of the like the items and spells and whatnot in the game have a different name internally. Like when we're actually coding it, they have a different name than what's presented to the player. It's like what you see in the game for a spell's name, like fungal spread. That is not its name in the actual like code. So it gets confusing sometimes, because I'll be like, oh yeah, this trait. And people are like, what? Or the other way around, like you'll talk about like some relic, you know, you'll report a bug on some relic, and I'm like, what relic is that? So I gotta like look in the English, you know, text file that's used for the game and try to reverse engineer what the relic is. Well, actually, now that I think about it, so there used to be a menu option for scientific versus non-scientific names, and I know that's been recently removed. Some people were talking about it. I'm not sure why it was removed. I don't know if that was intentional or like an oversight, but ooh, I'm getting some screen tearing. I'm going to turn off the FPS counter. It might have been using the internal names when it wasn't scientific. I'm not actually sure. The test device we're using is not a Chromebook, although a Chromebook with like some sort of Windows installation would probably be a really good low-end test case. Assuming you can even install Windows on them. I'm not sure. I know you can get Linux, but man, I don't understand Chromebooks. I am not a fan. I feel like anything a Chromebook can do and like an iPad or a decent tablet could do better. Or just like get an actual laptop that can run things, you know, other than a web browser. But whatever. That's just my opinion. So, before the stream, somebody who said they probably couldn't make it on in time, they had a question that they wanted me to answer on here. And that was, out of all the bosses, which one is my favorite? And which one was the most, like, interesting to build? Yeah, Chromebooks are really, like, they're barely a computer. Like, iPads are more of a computer than a Chromebook is, I think. I'm sure Apple would agree with their, you know, what's a computer advertisement campaign, but whatever. My favorite boss in the game, I think, is Enoch. Like, False Enoch, more specifically. Should I get a relic? War Drum. Hyperion's Ring. Sure, I'll do Hyperion's Ring. Yeah, so my favorite... Oh, shoot. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, this is bad. Oh, gosh. Okay. You wish you could fight a harder version of Enoch? I got some good news for you. But I can't tell it to you right now. Even though I kind of just did. Okay. Whatever. I don't know if that room was worth it. Okay. Don't get hit. Oh gosh. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Why not? YOLO! Whoa, I did it! I didn't actually think I could do it. Wow. Will remix bosses let you keep your equipment, or will it make everyone who enters at the same level? TBD. The systems that we're looking at for, like, rematching bosses and whatnot, it's pretty different than how we're handling them, or how we handled them in RL1. At least that's the plan. We'll see what happens. We're still kind of in the experimental phase right now with some of, like, the long tail content like that. So we're experimenting with some ideas, and we'll see what shakes out. But I would not expect the exact same format as RL1. Alright, thanks for hanging out. Yeah, there's... I was thinking the same thing, like the... Shoot, what was it called? Vidi something in VVV. Man, I really like VVV. That's a great game. The iOS version of VVV was a huge inspiration for the controls of the iOS version of RL1. I basically, like, kind of reverse engineered how their virtual thumbstick worked, and then tried to apply it to like Rogue Legacy's controls. Okay. I guess at this point, what am I looking for? What's my goal? I need to get the Air Dash heirloom, and then I need to beat Lamech. Yeah, VVV, I got it on the 3DS. I thought that was pretty interesting. And then I also got it on iOS and PC at least once. I probably have more copies of that game than I do of, like, anything else. Except maybe Undertale. Oh gosh, okay. Here we go. Okay. Oh, speaking of, or just, hang on, the only person on the planet that, like, not starting with a dash, I mean, I can see it. You know, it's kind of like, I don't know, it reminded me of, like, kind of the Metroid Prime games where, like, I think it was either 2 or 3, where you started off with, like, a lot of the abilities that you had to unlock in Metroid Prime 1, and it just felt kind of weird. So I can understand that. Oh gosh, not quite. Oh, okay. Yeah, it is long enough. I've got bad aim. There we go. Okay. I keep forgetting I can air dash because I'm in the heirloom, so I don't think to do it. Fungal spread. There we go. Okay. You dash in the direction you're moving. Yep. Alright, cool. Got the air dash. Anonke's shawl. Anonke. I don't know how you pronounce anything in this game. Are there any ways we can go further or support the game or the devs? Well, thanks for asking, first off. I mean... Well, when... If you want, at the end of the early access cycle, we're going to be releasing the game on other systems besides PC, so if you feel like spending more money and getting a slightly different experience of the game, then you can get the console versions when they come out, whenever that is. Aside from that, though, like, honestly, just like participating in the community and continuing to like report bugs on the Discord, continuing to welcome new people and support like burgeoning speedrunners. Anything that can like help drive community involvement with the game is really good. And so like T-Lore, I appreciate all of your YouTube coverage of the game, like your Big Long Relics video recently. That sort of stuff I think is really cool. It helps the game because like, and it helps us, right? Because it helps draw people into the game, and then it can kind of spread more through word of mouth, which is really nice. At least that's my take on it. So, can you release this on the on the Wii U? Well, I mean, people still come out with games for the PS Vita, so I mean, technically we could, but I don't think anyone would enjoy that experience. Okay, we're going to this biome. Isn't it great? Look at all the things you can do. Under construction. At least the developers is spelled right now. For a long time it said the Deviopers, which I thought was kind of fun. But anyway. Here's our PS2 port. Yeah, I don't think that the PS2 could actually run the game at any reasonable frame rate. It's surprising to me, honestly. Like, the game is, I mean, it's high def, right? I think it looks really nice, it's got a lot of cool effects and high-res textures. But, like, it doesn't seem like it should be that intense to render, and yet it is. And of course, like, a lot of our optimization work has been spent on figuring out why does it take so long to render and what can we do about it. But still, it's kind of surprising. Like, GPU performance is... it's so strange. Oh, pacifist. No. How much of that is Unity versus stuff you have done? That is the $1 million question right there. Oh my gosh. Unity. How do I put this? I'm going to be a ranger. Unity... I'm trying to find a way to phrase this diplomatically. Unity is a complicated engine where you have no idea what's going on internally a lot of the time. There are kind of some ways that you can poke at it, like there are some knobs you can twist, there are some settings you can change. You can get an idea of like how it works and you can adjust it a little, but a lot of it is totally out of our control. So like Unity is just, there's some overhead there that is out of our hands. We cannot do anything about it. And that's really frustrating because like I come from, well, I've done all kinds of stuff, but like early last year I started working on this open source project called FNA 3D. I do a lot of work with the game framework FNA, which is an open source reimplementation of the XNA game framework, which is what Rogue Legacy 1 was built with. So the iOS port, I actually ported FNA to iOS and then used that as essentially like a pitch to the Celador Games folks of like, hey, I've got XNA games running on iOS. You want yours on iOS? And then they did, and then we became friends. So that's how that ended up. But last year I worked on FNA 3D, which is a kind of like a sub library of that that's all about like graphics engine or graphics rendering. And it has different backends for OpenGL, DirectX 11, Metal, and recently Vulkan, which is a super complicated graphics backend. But anyway, so like I was doing a lot of low-level stuff, like directly talking to like DirectX and Metal, and now it's like I'm so far up the level of abstraction that it's like I can twist a knob and I have no idea what that's going to do down at like the driver level or down at the DirectX level. It's really frustrating being so far removed from the actual rendering system. And that's a problem that Unity has recognized. So like they have something called their scriptable render pipeline, but it's not finished and it doesn't really work. Like games have shipped with it. It works okay in some cases, but not for us. Not for our needs. And it like most things with Unity, it feels like it's in this like eternal purgatory of like it's not quite ready for production, but still you should start using it. Maybe in a few years it'll be ready, and they've been saying that for years. So frustrating. That said, a lot of the slowdown is on us. Like some of it's just Unity being Unity, and some of it is our team not totally understanding like how Unity works in certain cases. Right? Like if you have a fully transparent text or like some UI images, it still gets drawn even though it's transparent. Like that doesn't make any sense, right? You can't see it, but it's still taking up GPU time to draw. So there's just like all these little quirks and gotchas with Unity that we're having to work around. And I mean, yeah, that's on us, but it's also, if Unity wasn't the way that it is, it'd be a lot easier. So, anyway, those are my 2 cents on Unity. But actually, I have a lot more to say about Unity, but I think that's enough ranting for now. Let's go to the psychiatrist. Foundry. Oh no, I'm doing it again. I'm spending all my money here. Okay. Alright, let's go to the blacksmith. Thanks for helping me build my black shop. Leather weapon. Can't afford that. I have $0. 0 gold. Okay, well, at least I got a weapon. Okay, so in relation to that, have you thought about expanding the team at all, or do you prefer the small team setting? We have considered adding, or like trying to find another programmer on the team to help with like some of this optimization stuff. But I'm not totally sure if that's actually going to be necessary now. Our technical artist, like I was saying earlier, has really stepped up. Yeah, exactly 0. But yeah, so we're making pretty good strides with the optimization stuff as of late. And like after Rogue Legacy, who knows, right? Like if this game is a huge success and we sell a bazillion copies, and then maybe for the next game we'll add on some more people. But for right now, I don't know that adding more people is the solution to a basically a technical issue. Like we're able to do everything that we need to with this small team. And I say it's small, and it is. Like we have 5 core team members. And by core, I mean like they're working on the project every day. It is their full-time job. But we do have a lot of like people that we work with. Artists and musicians and audio folks. So we do actually have like a pretty sizable overall team. So I don't know. I kind of like this setting personally, but we'll see what happens in the future. Oh gosh. There we go. So before F&A and Unity, most of my game development experience was with Game Maker, which I now have more mixed feelings about. I still think I personally prefer it to Unity, but it is, and it's a really, really great tool for beginners. Like if you're interested in game development and you're not really sure where to start, I would recommend Game Maker. Like it is a very cool program, lets you do a lot really easily, but it only does 2D games, so there is that limitation. And it isn't as popular as Unity, so like tutorials are... There's still a ton of tutorials, but not like as many. But it's really great. That's how I got my start, and I would still recommend it to people. Oh yeah, Unreal Engine. Man, that is... I haven't worked much with Unreal. Like, I've downloaded it, I've played around with it a little. It always seemed like really complicated, or not complicated, but just like intense. Like before Rogue Legacy 2, I mostly worked on like 2D pixel art sprite games, which Unreal is just like total overkill for. Here we go. Try that again. There we go. Alright, cool. Alright, cool. Thanks for tuning in, Mindful Line. Oh gosh. Yeah. Perhaps the Ranger is not the best choice for boss fights. Or at least this guy. Oh gosh. Oh, this was a mistake. The gravity flipping flash game that I made a few years ago. Yeah, it was called Harmonica. I really like that game. It's my personal favorite of the games that I've made like by myself. It's kind of like VVV meets Qbert. My dash made his attack blue? I didn't notice. Ah, shoot. Oh, by the way, that bug that you reported, oh, yep, okay. Huh. Wow, okay. What the heck? Well, anyway, that bug that you reported a while back, about, like, Enoch's music just, like, randomly cutting out, turns out that also happened with Lamech. Nobody had caught it. It had been in there since the very first launch of the game, in early access. And somehow it had remained unnoticed. So, it was a nice 2-for-1 bug fix there. Yeah, so it was a very specific set of circumstances, of course. So, like, you had to go in and beat Lamech to, like, less than half his health, so he entered into Phase 2. And then die. And come back and fight him again during, like, the same run of the game. And then it would, like, cut out his first phase music and go straight to his second phase, even before you'd, like, chopped his health down. And it turns out that, weirdly enough, that was actually what was causing the Enoch bug, too. Well, actually, Enoch had 2 bugs that both resulted in that same sort of symptom. But that was one of them. Okay, the kitchen. Yeah. Let's get the chef. What have we got? Can't afford that. Can't afford that. Okay, cool. Can't afford that. Oh, yeah, the architect might have. Yeah. Alright, I guess that's everything we can do. I don't quite know how a leather frying pan makes sense, but, you know, whatever. Okay, just gonna avoid a bunch of enemies and see if I can find the boss room. As much as a leather bow and arrow. Well, I don't know, like, at least a bow and arrow is, like, exclusively, like, a weapon, right? Like, it essentially has one purpose, but a frying pan, like, I don't think you should cook something with leather. We can just say it's the handle. Yeah. Yeah. Let's pretend it's just the handle. Let's see. Oh, so a while back I mentioned that I was going to talk about my, like, the most annoying bug in the game for me. And that is the dreaded gold and other items dropping out of bounds bug. So, like, when it drops into the floor sometimes after you beat an enemy. And, people complain about this on the Discord, like, every single day. We get bug reports of, like, oh no, my gold fell through the floor. That bug in particular is the bane of my existence. Because it seems like it should be an easy fix. Right? Like, if you're about to spawn in the floor, don't. Right? Just move out of the floor. Ta-da, problem solved. It is not that easy. It is nowhere near that easy, unfortunately. And there have been several times where I thought I'd cracked that bug. Like, it used to be that people would complain about stuff getting stuck in the ceiling. Right? Like, you'd break something, like, kind of close to the ceiling, like right up here. Boom, right? And the gold would appear, like, right above you. Just far enough up that you couldn't reach. And so I figured out how to fix that. However, the fix for that has resulted in things going into the floor instead. And it's weird to me. Like, I feel like there's something psychological to it. Like, someone needs to do some experiments on this. People are way more upset about stuff getting stuck in the floor than they were about it getting stuck in the ceiling. Even though it's still inaccessible, I don't know why. Like, people just really hate it when it gets stuck in the floor in particular. And I mean, yeah, of course, like, either way it sucks, right? Like, I want everybody to be able to get the rewards that they, that they earned. But, I don't know. It's frustrating. Both as a player and a programmer. Yeah, I guess I could see that. Like, it's just more frequent. And you can magnetize it. Yeah, that's a good point. So speaking of magnetizing, that was another one of our attempted solutions, is if something gets stuck in the floor, or the ceiling, or whatever, then it just magnetizes to you, right? Problem solved. Except, the way that we wired it up is that everything magnetizes to you, not just coins. Meat and mana magnetize to you. But then that didn't quite work out because it turned out that then all meat would magnetize to you if you had the magnesis rune. And so people didn't like that, especially like if you had the vegan trait, right? And so meat hurts you. So if you were a vegan and meat magnetized to you, that's like a death sentence. And so we disabled it for vegans. Right? Problem solved. Except, now meat gets stuck in the wall, but only if you're playing as a vegan. Yeah, and like, if a coin spawns in the wall, there is no clear direction to push it out a lot of the time. If it's in the ceiling, then yeah, you can just push it down. But if it's in anything else, if it's in like a side wall or the floor or whatever, I've fallen for this trap before. You know what they say, fool me once, I'll do it again. There we go. Alright, cool. Made it that time. Okay, cool. Global range money magnet. Okay. I'm not... I can assume what it does, but like, how does it work exactly? I haven't played the mod. There we go. That wasn't too bad. How do you balance player feedback from new features and tweaks compared to what you all as devs want out of the game? That's a good question. Um, it depends. So sometimes, like, excuse me. Of course, we value player feedback, right? Like, that's part of being in early access. Is we want, you know, like, we want to hear from our players, and a lot of mechanics have actually come as suggestions. So, like, some of the traits and relics were community suggestions from the Discord. But sometimes it's hard to know as a player, like, what the plan is for long-term ideas. So, like something might come out and it might not be super balanced in the game at the moment. But then, if you knew, like, kind of the inside story of what we're planning to do with that in a future update, then it makes more sense. So, like, I'm trying to think of a good example, but, like, certain, like, item drops, right? I don't know, like souls, or those orb things that drop from bosses, or maybe they used to. I'm not sure if they're still in the game. Like, we have plans for those, but right now they're useless. And so if you as a player get them, you're like, okay, I got this thing. What does it do? It doesn't appear to do anything. And so it's one of those things that, like, I don't want to say we take it with a grain of salt, but, like, we evaluate it in the context of what we know we're planning. If that makes any sense. I don't know if that answers the question super well. Also, like, sometimes there's just, like, I don't know. It's hard to admit sometimes to yourself that, like, an idea that you loved doesn't actually, like, resonate with players. Right? Like, something that you personally really like as a designer or a programmer or whatever, like, people don't actually like in practice. And so there's kind of a temptation to, like, keep holding on to that idea just because, like, eventually people are going to come around to it, right? But, and sometimes that works. You know, sometimes people are like, oh, okay, I see now, right? Or, you know, a slight balance tweak can make all the difference to, like, a class of character or something, right? Like, for a while, nobody played as the mage. The mage was the worst class, like, I mean, pretty objectively in the first release of the game. But then they added, like, mana leech and an extended, like, you know, hit radius for their faraway casting spell. And then they in this last update, they got, like, you know, different spell pools for their, like, defense and offense spells. And so just over time, like, they get better based on, you know, what people expect them to feel like and what they suggest. The exception so far seems to be the poor duelist. I don't know if anybody really knows what to do with the duelist. And, like, I'm personally pretty bad at the duelist. Oh yeah, cartographer. Woo. And it seems like it tends to be at the bottom of, like, community favorite lists. And so maybe there's, I don't know what can be done about that without, like, fundamentally changing it. Oh, let me catch up on chat here. Magnetizes all money to you always, no matter the distance. Okay, well, yeah, that makes sense. If it hits the bottom of the screen, drop it from the ceiling. Well, that might cause problems in, like, kind of tall rooms, right? Like, if you're in a little corner, right, it makes sense, right? Because it falls out the bottom, comes out the top, sure. But for, like, a really tall room, if you're at the very bottom of the room and then it falls, like, somewhere way above you, that's a little strange. But yeah, I mean, it's an idea. I like collecting coins myself. It was kind of cool, though, on bosses, especially later when they dropped a lot of money. Yeah. Yeah, bosses are going to be... Their item drops are going to be a lot more interesting and useful, I think, with this next content update, because we're making some changes, and I think it'll be, I think they'll be cool. Can I buy anything from you? No. Okay. The Lily of the Valley room, where the lilies at the bottom. Yeah, I've seen that happen a lot. Like, that's one of the more commonly reported places. Happens with tombstones and them being on slopes. Yep, you are exactly correct. Slope collisions are a nightmare. I mean, like, no matter what engine you're using, no matter what physics system you're using, slopes are just a constant problem for game developers. It's kind of wild, actually. Like, you wouldn't think, like, if you hadn't, like, tried programming them before, you'd just be like, oh, what's the big deal, right? It's just, like, a slightly changed angle, right? But there's so many weird edge cases to think about, and... ugh. Slopes. Yeah, so it's actually kind of interesting, as you can probably imagine, just from the way that levels are shaped sometimes. The room editor system in Rogue Legacy 2 is a lot more flexible than it was in Rogue Legacy 1. So, like, terrain is actually shaped as, like, kind of this, kind of like a polygon. Of each wall is its own shape, and you can, like, define the nodes and the points that, like, draw out the exact shape of the floor, and then we have a system that, like, automatically fills it with the right texture and then, like, applies this nice edge to it. Whereas in the first game, I think it was, like, almost entirely on a grid system. Yeah, I don't blame you. Okay, defeat all enemies. Here we go. Oh, these fairy rooms were kind of problematic in the last patch that we released. There was a... oh, come on. Ah, no, I thought I could get him in before that. Oh, well. And I got hit, so whatever. Okay. But yeah, so in fairy rooms, if you had, like, the diva trait, or if you had Puritan, you could see, like, the enemy spotlights or, like, their kind of, you know, sensor effects before they actually spawned in fairy rooms. That was a surprisingly tricky problem to solve. The reason it happened is because the enemies are actually, like, so when you go into a fairy room that you have to pull a lever to activate the enemies. The enemies are already there. They're just like, they have their visuals and logic turned off. And their hitbox. So, when you entered a room, the trait code would be like, oh yeah, there's some enemies in here, I need to censor them. But, like, they weren't, like, they're there, but they're not really there. And so we had to add some special handling for those. And then I accidentally fixed it in a way that broke that trait in every room except fairy rooms. And so we had to release another patch for that. So, like, the Diva and Puritan traits would only work in fairy rooms. Is it intended that fairy rooms and challenge rooms don't drop anything? Yes, that is intended. How do you feel about that? Like, that's... I think we can actually, like, enable or disable that with just, like, a little... we basically have an internal toggle for that. And I guess that's intended to, like... not... actually, I don't know what the intention is. I don't want to speak on behalf of our game designer, but... oh, they used to in fairy rooms. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't know if that's intentional then. Oh, right, I forgot I have cartographer. I was like, where's my mini-map? What am I even looking for? I'm looking for Lamech. Shoot, I should have been using this. What the heck am I doing? Oh my gosh, he was just like off to the right of the entrance room. Where am I now? Oh, golly. Well, I'm in a fairy room, so that narrows it down a little bit. Does it? Where am I? That's strange. Am I crazy, or is there only one fairy room listed on the map? That's not the one I'm in, is it? No. Okay, huh. Oh, wait, no, okay, blah. Yeah, okay, we're up in the top left corner. Right, yep. Man. Oh, gosh darn it. Okay, oh boy, vertigo. Everybody's favorite trait. Only gives you plus 75? That doesn't seem like it's enough. Pandora's Bargain? Sure. You'd like vertigo if the map was inverted as well? That's interesting. Okay. Through the castle. Well, okay. Oh, until purified any... Gosh darn it, okay. Well, I wish I'd known that. I programmed that feature, but I forgot how it worked. Also, I didn't know its name, so... Okay, yeah, I'll bring that up with our designer, and we'll see if we can change that. I mean, it should be an easy thing to change technically, I just want to make sure it's not like... I don't know, if there's some other reason why we haven't done that. Yeah. Thoughts on the consistent multiplayer? I have some thoughts. So, I think a co-op mode for Rogue Legacy 2 could be pretty cool. In theory. And pure make-believe magic land, I think it could be cool. But is it actually feasible or possible or a good idea? No. So the way that the game is structured right now, so from both a design and a programming standpoint, there are pretty serious issues with the idea of doing multiplayer. So like from a design perspective, we're in this room, alright? Imagine there's another character next to me. We're just hanging out, we're having a good time. And I decide I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go through this door. What happens to the other player? Do they just like immediately snap to me? Do we have like a 3D world like enter a pipe effect? Where like I go off the screen and then there's like this little delay and then they like whoop over to my side of the screen? What happens if they go to a different door? What happens then? Who does it follow? Whoever got there first, I guess? But then that's confusing. Right? Especially because there's not like a Metroid-style like screen transition between these. It's just like boop, 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 right? The room appears all at once, so it's confusing like which player actually made it out the door first. It's not clear. Another issue is like the camera system. So like for small rooms like this, it's fine, right? We can both run around, we can both see each other, all good. How's that going to work in the bridge? Like, Axis Mundi, like... we can't zoom the camera out to accommodate 2 people in an extremely long room. And so maybe we just have like a, I don't know, like a bound, right? Like once you're outside of this bound, then, you know, there's just like a little indicator that's like, oh, hey, player 2's over here. But then, like, that's not fun for player 2 because they can't see what they're doing. If they snap them back, then that's frustrating, right? There's just so many design edge cases that I think people don't really consider. But also, hang on. Okay, I've got cartographer. Sorry. I was like, my mini-map isn't showing up, and I don't remember picking cartographer. So, but, want to make sure that wasn't a bug. And then on a technical level, the game is, like, hardwired to assume that there is only one player. Like, everything would break if we had 2 players. This isn't like a 3D World situation where they're like, sorry, I keep bringing up 3D World, it's just on my mind, where they're like, oh, hey, we accidentally put 2 Marios in the scene and it works and it's kind of fun, you can control them at once. And they're like, oh, hey, let's make a feature out of that. Yeah, that is not possible here. All the enemy AI, all of the, like, room entrance and exit logic, everything assumes there is precisely 1 player in the scene. So we would have to recode, like, a huge chunk of the game in order to support multiple players. So, like, I get it, right? I understand wanting to play with your friends, and I think it could work, right? Theoretically, that once you solved a bunch of these design problems, but is it actually possible? Like, is it feasible for this game in particular? No. It's a bummer, but no. Oh, that's cool. The health bar's here. Hello, health bar. Another one. Oh my gosh, it stayed around until... Okay, another one for the tracker. Oh boy. Okay, I'm gonna be a diva. Yas. Okay. I actually have a fair amount of gold. I might go get a rune. I can't afford that one, but I can afford this one. Bend space-time to make people hot for a little longer. Increased duration of status effects. Yes. That's not what I meant to do, but whatever. Alright. But yeah, it's... Reading all the multiplayer discussion in the Discord it's interesting. Like, it really... I don't know. I think it highlights how little people understand about game development, like how it actually, like, how it works. Which, I mean, like, if you've never made a game, sure, you know, that's fine. Like, I had no clue how games worked when I was, you know, before I got started. But it's funny to me to watch and see people be like, oh, it'd be so easy. You just add another controller to the input manager. I'm like, no. There's a little more to it than that. But, yeah. I really like this trait. This might be my favorite trait in the game. Like, for whatever reason, I think it's just... I really like it. It's satisfying when when you get flowers thrown at you for killing all the enemies in a room. It also serves as like a good notifier that, like, you did it. You finished the room, right? You don't have to go hunting around for more enemies or anything. Disattuned is the best. Yeah, I have some feelings about Disattuned I talked about earlier in the stream, but, like, I mean, yeah. All of my grievances with it are just from a technical level of how much pain and suffering it has caused me as a programmer, but as an actual like gameplay trait, it's pretty cool. Yeah, yeah, it cheers when you kill all the enemies. Anybody have any burning questions about like anything about the game's internals? Anything else that I can answer? Game development in general? Life in general? Is it weird working with the cursed 3D models of characters? Actually, no. Like, it's surprising, like, yeah, they look terrifying if you view them in Blender or whatever, but, ooh, a curio shop. Nah. Actually, oh, hey, Mag. Should I do it? Should I do it? I'm gonna do it. Why the heck not? Let's live a little. Shockwave. I know Prismatic Spectrum's like one of the best spells in the game, but like, I don't know. I like getting the what's it called? The Wisdom Blessing. So, but anyway, yeah. As far as like the 3D models of the characters, you actually don't see like the weirdness for the most part when you're testing the game. So like, I often like just forget that the characters are animated in very unnatural ways. Although it is interesting sometimes to like, because sometimes when I'm like doing some sort of like rendering related debugging, like if something's not showing up right and I got to figure out what's going on. I like the crowd booing. Then sometimes it's kind of interesting to see like what's an actual model and what's just 2D. Because a lot of the characters are actually a combination of 2D sprites and 3D models. Hermes boots, the most confusing trait or relic in the game. I guess maybe they're not the most confusing, but people seem to get tripped up by it quite a bit because of its like... It says like it protects you from static spikes, but like, what are static spikes? Can you reveal the specific level requirements for every rune and blueprint? I have no idea what they are. All of that stuff is handled by our designer. So essentially how it works is he's got like this big XML document. Oh. Yeah, look at that table falling up there. That's fun. But anyway, he's got this big XML document that he puts in like the level requirements for everything, like XP scaling, pretty much all of like the stats in the game, and so he can tune those whenever, and the game just reads in that file and processes it in a way that it's embedded into the game data. So unfortunately, I am of no help with that. It might be possible to reverse engineer it, but I'm not totally sure how you could do that. Are the rooms between areas basically one room with different enemies / visuals, or are they completely separate design rooms? What do you mean the rooms between areas? Oh, like is it like if you have like basically if I encountered this sort of room but it looked different and had different enemies in the study biome, is that what you're... Yeah, so it's all the same room. The room system is really interesting. Trying to figure out the best way to describe it. Yeah, so it's essentially a reskin with different doors opened or closed, kind of, based on like a random process, like I was talking about earlier, with different enemies as well. And yeah, so essentially we have the way that the rooms are built is with kind of generic spawner objects. So instead of saying, I want a sword knight to be spawned right here, we just say, I want an enemy to spawn here. Right? A grounded enemy. And then when the castle's being generated, it will essentially like roll some dice and figure out, okay, what are the possible enemies that I could generate here? Right? This is one of the earliest rooms in the castle, so I shouldn't spawn any advanced or expert enemies, right? It's got to be a pretty low-level one. And, you know, it can only be like one of these three options because it's the castle, so I'm going to choose skeleton. Right? Whereas if it's in the study, it'll be like, okay, it could be a slug, it could be a skeleton archer, it could be, you know, that sort of thing. And it does that for props too. So you just say, I want a prop here. And then in the study, it's like an electric light. Whereas here, it might be like a bookshelf or something. So it allows us to just design one room, and then it gets reused in all these different biomes and recontextualized appropriately. There are some exceptions, though. There are some rooms that are exclusive to certain biomes. I forgot about Hermes boots. Okay. So, like, we have what are called mandatory rooms. So that's like the Tower of Lights in the castle. You know, the big one with all the lanterns where you can get Lamech's memory. Or whatever it's called. So those are mandatory. Those are always placed in the castle. And then the study has some. The bridge actually is you know, because it's kind of a weird area, right? Because it's all one big long room. All of its individual pieces are exclusive to the bridge. So you're never going to get a bridge room in any of the other biomes. And then, of course, you have like heirlooms and that sort of thing, and those are exclusive to their biomes, but that's kind of obvious. All right, money and then Lamech time. It's probably different for you since you started in August, but how does dealing with code affect the dev process, assuming the team is distributed in different locations? Yeah, so sorry, my brain is currently focused on Lamech. Okay, that was dumb. Why did I do that? Okay. Shoot. Okay, how has COVID affected things? Actually, not like as much as you might imagine, just because a lot of the team was already working from home most days, and like only coming into the office occasionally, like, so it kind of worked out to just transition, yeah. It worked out to just kind of transition to a work from home sort of style anyway. And for me, I don't have a whole lot of choice because the rest of the core team is located in Toronto, and I am not. I am from Kentucky in the USA. So going into the office would require like a plane ride and a passport and a bunch of stuff that I don't really want to deal with on a daily basis. So working from home it actually works out pretty nice for me. Alright, I think at this point, like, I would like to beat Lamech, but I don't know. I feel like I've seen too much of the castle. Let's see if we can get to the study. Oh my gosh. Nope. Thanks, Commando DD. Alright. So let's see. Wow, okay. That's cool. I like that the collision didn't kick in there. Okay, trying to think. Are there any other juicy secrets I can tell you? Oh, yeah, yep. Yeah, Kentucky is, It can be a pretty nice place to drive through, I think. There's a lot of horses, a lot of fields and pastures, and in eastern Kentucky there's some really beautiful mountains. A lot of my family's from eastern Kentucky. Got a lot of Appalachian heritage. Let's see here. Oh, so I wanted to address something that a while back on the Discord, like before the Arcane Hallows update came out, I made like this kind of like hinted message of like, oh, you know, I wanted to intrigue people, and I talked about how we were busy squashing bugs, and that there was going to be like one bug left in the game for you to squash. Yeah. And so people were like, is there going to be a bug boss? I'm like, oh shoot, I I probably should have set better expectations for what I meant here. But it's actually kind of a convoluted story. So, you know the slug? Yeah, it's the slug in the study, but it wasn't always a slug. It was always intended to be a slug eventually, but for their temp art, before we got like actual art for the slug, it was this MS Paint like little hastily drawn snail. But that's not the weirdest part. Like it was a slug, but it was actually a little, you know, temporary art snail. But it had a wolf, like one of the wargs, inside of it. It was a tiny snail with an even tinier warg that did the running around for it. It was like using the warg's physics inside of the snail sprite. It was absolutely bizarre. And I thought I got a video of it, but I looked earlier and I didn't, so unfortunately I can't share it with you. But just imagine a snail running around with a little tiny warg inside of it. It was just bizarre. Like, I remember when the designer first started adding those to the study, and I was playing through the study to like test something else, and I'm like, what the heck is that? It's really interesting to see the before and after of some of these enemies, but that one's the most just bizarre one I've seen. I don't know why they did it like that. I wasn't around for the implementation of that enemy originally. Oh, come on. Oh, boy. Okay. He can throw daggers behind him. Look at him. Isn't he talented? Okay. Badoom, badoom. That's not what I meant to do. Hit the wrong button. Okay, dead. Alright, well, you know, whatevs. Do you think porting Rogue Legacy to iOS gave you an interesting perspective on the game, like internally or mechanically, before you started working on 2? I don't know. That's a good question. I think it gave me definitely a better understanding of like the core mechanics, right? Because like prior to Rogue Legacy 1, I had only played one roguelike, Nuclear Throne. And so Rogue Legacy was really like... And Nuclear Throne, if you haven't played it, like it's one of those games that like it wipes your progress every time you die. Like you start from nothing. And so it's kind of more of a traditional roguelike, whereas Rogue Legacy is more of a roguelite, right? Yeah, I'll be a vegan. No, I won't. I'm going to be a barbarian. There we go. So it was a good introduction to the genre for me. The actual internals of the games are very different, just because, I mean, one of them was written with XNA and the other one's in Unity. So not a whole lot transferred over. Technically, but... Is the safe spot between Lamech and the beam intended? Yes, I believe so. I forgot what is this? Masochism. Okay. Oh, another fun work in progress thing that I encountered. Again, because I joined the game like right after it came out in early access. there was a lot implemented before I arrived, so I didn't really like see that process until afterward. And so one of those things is like there was this temporary setup for a character that eventually became the gunslinger, and so they like would shoot rapid fire bullets. But this was before they decided to actually like make it a gunslinger, and so this person would throw ladles, or like, but not just like not like in the trailer, right? Like in the trailer, it looked like more of just I'm tossing a spoon, right? This was, I am shooting spoons out of my hands at a machine gun level rate. I was a little confused when I first stumbled onto that. Do I have a favorite scrapped idea? Huh. I'm trying to think. I feel like there haven't been too many ideas that we've scrapped, at least not that I'm aware of. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, nothing's really coming to mind. I don't have a good answer for that. Yeah, at least from what I've seen, right? Like, because again, I'm a programmer. I'm not like super involved in the design of the game itself, like in terms of gameplay elements and whatnot. But like, it feels like we have more of a yes and approach to features. So instead of like scrapping things, oftentimes we'll just like be like, okay, yeah, sure, why not? Let's add that in. So like one of those ideas is the skeleton bosses for the bridge. So originally they were intended to be like essentially like mini bosses for kind of like gong heads are, rather than like the full ending of an area boss. But we didn't have anything for the bridge, and so we were like, okay, well, you know, skeletons, right? We got those in the reserves. Let's just make them bigger and make them the big bad bosses. And so we did, but then they were just normal skeletons. And so this was like right before, this is probably a week or two before the Far Shores update came out. And our designer was like, you know, well, they're just skeletons. Let's put pirate hats on them, you know, for Halloween. Because like the update came out like a few days before Halloween, so in order to celebrate that, they got pirate hats. And then that kind of merged into them becoming the characters that they are, the pirate skeletons. So I don't know. I just thought that was fun. Yeah, actually, I think if you watch the original like early access trailer for the game, you can see one of the big skeletons fall and drop on the player, but they just look like a normal skeleton. There's no pirate get up. So I think that was what they were originally intended as. And I think there were some skeleton mini-bosses in... actually, yeah, there were some skeleton mini-bosses in the original Rogue Legacy. So I guess that's what they were originally designed for. Yeah. Help us. Who voiced the Arcane Hallows update, and will we get a Spy Dog voice trailer? I think it's one of the musicians. I can't remember who. I'm pretty sure they did the voice for the trailer. I would like to do a voiceover for a trailer at some point. We'll see what happens. Oh, I've already been here. Gosh darn it. I am super impressed by speedrunners and their ability to, like, carry out coherent conversations with the chat while also playing well. Because I can do... I can have conversations. I don't know if I can play well in general, but, like, I definitely can't do both at once. What's my favorite class? That is a tricky question. See what I'm saying? Like, I can't think and talk and play all at the same time. But favorite class, I really like the Gunslinger. I think they're a lot of fun. Barbarian's aerial attack is super fun. Valkyrie's cool, like especially with their vertical attacks. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to pick a favorite. And then of course, we've got some more in the pipeline. And I think one of them is going to be, it's going to be interesting. I'm curious to see what people are going to think about it. Because at least to me, it seems like every class is definitely different, right? Like, they all have their distinct play style. But some of them are more distinct than others. You know, like, the Ranger is completely different from every other character. Same as the Mage, right? Whereas with the Duelist and the Valkyrie and Knight, they all kind of have, like, some similarities, right? Like, they've got decent melee attacks, you know, sword-based stuff. And so and also the Assassin, I guess. And so I'm really interested personally in the classes that are more unique. So like the Cook and the Gunslinger and the Barbarian with their aerial attacks. That's just my personal inclination. And so we've got one coming out in the next update that is pretty unique. So I'm curious to see how people are going to react to that. What's your, like, big dream you have for your career in game development? My big dream. So, well, first off, like, sorry, I thought I heard something weird in the game. I'm so used to, like, having, like, this kind of constant radar for bugs. Oh, okay, well, that was fun. See that? Whee! Okay. Oh, gosh. Okay. Like, I do really enjoy, like, what I'm doing now. Like, this was, like, kind of my dream, like, for a long time, is to be able to work from home, working on a really cool video game with a team of, like, you know, really cool and dedicated and you know, people who are really good at what they do. And so I really enjoy working on Rook Legacy. It's an awesome project to be a part of. In terms of, like, where do I want to be in 20 years? Like, I don't know. I think if the opportunity ever came available, I think it might be really cool to work for Retro Studios. Because, like, I love the Metroid Prime series and the Donkey Kong Country, like, Tropical Freeze. So, I don't know. But beyond that, like, yeah, I'm really content where I'm at. Which is a nice place to be in life, you know? Very fortunate. Will this be the run that I finally slay Lamech? Probably not, but let's find out. Oh, ha. So, another fun story from the trenches of game development. So yesterday, I ran into an absolutely bizarre bug. And it took me a while to track it down, and once I did, I was just more confused than ever. But I think I solved it, but still. So, every enemy has a level, you know? Like, you hit an enemy and up at, you know, above its health bar, which you can't see because of my trait right now, but, like, if you could see it, right, it says level whatever, right? So this is a level 16 skeleton, right? the enemies in the tutorial, turns out they had a level -2 trillion, I think it was. Something like that. That was their level. Like -2 trillion. But if you actually attack them, it would say, like, I can't remember if it was level 0 or level 1. But their true level was -2 trillion. I'm like, yeah, precisely. What the ding-dong frick? So, here's what was happening. It was a division by 0, which, as you know, is not mathematically, well, depending on how deep into the math world you go, that's not a good thing. You don't want to divide by 0. So it turns out in... yes, that is precisely what it was. So there was a division by 0, which, with floating point numbers, at least in C#, gets you infinity. Any floating point number divided by 0, you get infinity. Which, well, in that case, you know, why weren't the enemies level infinity? Well, because it rounded infinity down to a whole number. And as it turns out, if you round, for whatever reason in C#, if you round infinity down to a whole number, you get the smallest possible number representable by an integer, which happens to be -2, I can't remember, it's trillion, quadrillion, something like that. -2 and a whole bunch of numbers after it. But it worked by accident because there's also some code that if you have an enemy with a negative level, it will force that enemy's level to be at least 0. Yeah, that's the number. Yeah. And that... Is that... Yeah, that's like -2.1 trillion. Okay. Yeah, I'm not too far off. I think. Is that trillion or billion? Sorry, I'm trying to stay alive. I can't focus too much. But that's actually... That whole debacle that I just talked about. Oh, also, I programmed the scroll AI for these guys that blow up when you're near them. So... if you die to one, you have me to thank. But yeah, that wasn't the actual problem, because it, like I said, it worked by accident because it was getting clamped to 0. Except... So, like, right now the game's only on PC, but, like, occasionally we test it on other platforms, like, just so that we know, like... just so we have an expectation of when it comes time to actually port the thing for real to console or Mac or whatever, right? Like, are we going to run into major problems? And so occasionally we'll test on other systems. And this particular system that we tested on yesterday, the enemies had level +2 billion instead of -2 billion. And I am, like, 99% sure that is a Unity bug, because that does not happen on PC. So, for whatever reason, on this particular platform, infinity rounded down to a whole number is +2 billion. And because 2 billion is greater than 0, it wasn't getting clamped. So all of the enemies had level 2 billion and were completely unkillable. Like, it was... they wouldn't even show a health bar. Like, it was so badly busted, like, there is no way you can damage these things. And so you couldn't make it past the tutorial because you couldn't kill the enemies. I mean, I guess you could sneak by them, but, like, yeah. So that was fun. So, you know how... if you've, you know, ever used Unity or looked into it or know much about it, it's the idea that, like, you know, you have this program, you write your game in it, and then you just, like, you choose the, okay, make a Switch build option, or the make a PC build option, or the make a iOS build option, right? And your game just magically works, right? It's like, wow, there it is. It's my game running on another system. So easy. No. It's never that easy. That's one of those things that, like, contributes to my dislike of Unity, is like, yes, it makes cross-platform game development more feasible than if you coded it all yourself. But, like, my gosh, it's still so inconsistent. I guess the same game, the exact same logic, and it works differently on one system versus another. Doesn't make any sense. But whatever. Rogue Legacy Dark Souls Edition. Yeah, did you know that the original Rogue Legacy started out as a 2D Dark Souls-like game? Especially, like, in the original game, like, a bunch of the code still references DS2D. Which I didn't know what that stood for quite a while, and then eventually I can't remember if I asked or if I happened to stumble across it in, like, an interview or something with the Cellar Door co-founders of, like, yeah, we were thinking about making a Dark Souls game. Like, not an official Dark Souls game, but a Dark Souls-like. So that's where the DS2D came from. Oh, so something else I wanted to talk about on here is something that's occasionally brought up in the Discord, and that is mod support. Because I know a lot of people, like the Lament of Zor's mod, and I think modding is just an awesome thing in general. And like Rogue Legacy 1, there's like quite a bit of room for modding there. With Rogue Legacy 2, it's going to be a little difficult. It's still probably possible to like make mods for it, but it's not going to be as straightforward just because of some of the architectural decisions that we've made along the way. And in no small part due to Unity's limitations. However, that said, creating new levels, that's going to be difficult. It might be possible, but it's going to take some really dedicated people to figure out how to do that. I've considered even like trying to do it myself, not using our internal tools, but just like taking the game and trying to reverse engineer it, like from what's in your program files, and try to figure out how you could theoretically mod it. So I might do that at some point, but there are other ways that you can change the game, like that are significantly more feasible. There is I'm not gonna like explicitly like go through how to do it, but if you ever want to like extract some of the textures from the game for use, for personal use, or like on a YouTube channel or whatever, or I think you can also like if you want to replace some of the texture data in the game, that is definitely possible. There are tools made specifically for modding Unity games that use asset bundles, because that's how our asset system works, is we use asset bundles. And so if you do some digging, you might be able to find some interesting stuff. I actually use some of those open source Unity modding tools for like development, because some of them are actually better than Unity's own tools. Especially for like gauging what's taking up room in a bundle, which can be really helpful when you're, when I was working on reducing the size of all the assets in the game. So, yeah, if that's something you're interested in, do a little bit of Googling about asset bundles and modding and see what you can find. Like, I really want people to experiment with the game and, make it their own. Obviously within limits, like, don't steal our stuff. But, like, for modding and whatever. Alright, I'm going to see if I can find Lamech one more time, and then I might call it for the day. Let's see here. So if anybody has any more questions, now would be the time. Although, of course, like, you can still ask questions and stuff in the Discord, and somebody might respond at some point, so. It can be hard for us to keep up with the flood of messages from the Discord, though. Especially, like, once there's a conversation happening about something, it can be a little hard to keep track of, who said what, and the ideas originally presented, but... This room is weird. I've always thought it was weird. Like, it doesn't look like any other room in the game. It's like this weird, like, eerie, dark thing with all these columns. Like, I kind of like it, but it's also kind of strange. Okay, one more run. Am I planning on streaming more? Maybe. I don't know. This is really my first foray into streaming since... Shoot, when would it have been? 2014 or 15, I guess? Like, I streamed a little bit for a game jam. What will the next RL2 stream be? Good question. I mean, if you guys want to see more of this, like, hopefully it's entertaining, even though I'm, like, totally failing at the game. If you're interested, like, I can do some more of this. I've really enjoyed it, personally. I might stream some other games at some point. Like, there have been a few that I've been, like, meaning to get into for a while. And I think they might make for some interesting content. Yeah, thanks. Okay. Alright, trying to find Lamech. Have I played Hollow Knight? I've played a little bit of it. And, like, it really feels like it should be something I enjoy. But I just can't get into it for some reason. I don't know why. I really love Metroidvanias. I think the art style is cool. But just, I've bounced off of it each time I've tried to play it. I don't know what's up with that. Mario Golf. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I have a lot of fond memories playing Mario Golf on the GameCube back in the day. And I think this is the first console Mario Golf since then. That would be like, what, 2003? Oh my gosh. What do devs think about adding local multiplayer? We talked about this a bit ago. We have a lot of thoughts, and honestly, it might just be easier to, like, watch the VOD after the stream to get them all, because I had a lot of things to say. But the basic gist being, it's a cool idea in theory. I wish we could do it, but for technical and design reasons, it's really not feasible. Oh my gosh. Oh right, I have the boots. It throws me off every time. Okay, come on. Da, 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 da. There we go. Alright, here we are. Oh shoot. Come on. Ah. Cool, thanks, Claire. Aha, Lamech. Alright, here we go. Oh, please. Let's end on a high note. Come on. Do your worst, Lamech. Oh man, I am really low on health. Oh no, this is not going to go well. Oh hey, there's the sweet spot. Okay, get the heck away. Uh-huh. Doodly-doo. You know, with as many... Oh gosh, oh no. Oh no. With as many speedrun videos of this as I watch, I should probably be better at Lamech than I am. Not to mention the fact that I'm, like, a programmer on the darn thing, but whatever. Alright, come on, come on, come on. Ugh. Yeah, I would really like to see some of the other developers do something like this. Like, if we could get our designer to, like, stream some of the game, he's ridiculously good at video games in general, and of course, especially Rogue Legacy. So I would be really interested to see him work on stuff, or to see him play through it. Also, just fun little fact. You may or may not know this, but you can scroll and zoom the death screen. So if you ever wanted to take in the castle, you could do it. I don't know if that's common knowledge or not, but yeah, seriously, like, I'm going to see if I can convince them to do a stream together or something. I think that'd be really fun. But, all right. Well, cool deal. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I really enjoyed this. This was fun. I will be posting the recording on YouTube pretty shortly. So if anybody has any questions or anything, let me know on the Discord. Feel free to hit me up whenever. And yeah, I'll keep you posted if we do another one. So be looking forward to the next content update whenever it releases. Maybe next month or May. Fingers crossed. All right. See you guys.